What if the biggest threat to your future is not your age, but the strength you failed to build before you needed it? We are often told that growing older requires us to slow down. Shrinking, weakening, and losing physical capability are framed as the automatic taxes we pay for a long life. Aging is a biological reality, but frailty is a preventable state. By treating physical decline as an inescapable rule, many people wait too long to intervene. They forfeit their future independence because they did not prepare their physical foundation today. In older age, a hip fracture represents far more than a localized injury. It triggers a systemic cascade. This single event can cause an immediate and profound loss of personal autonomy, ending mobility instantly. This chart plots physical independence over time. When a fracture occurs, we see a sheer drop. This immobility triggers a rapid decline in health, representing the specific fear of aging, becoming a permanent burden on family or the healthcare system. The ultimate threat is not a shorter lifespan, but living out your final decades in a body that has lost its freedom and dignity. We often view the human skeleton as inert scaffolding, a set of rigid props designed only to hold the weight of our muscles. In reality, bones are highly active, living organs. They function as dynamic mineral storage vaults, constantly remodeling their own internal architecture. Your bones are also speaking to the rest of your body. They release chemical signals into the bloodstream that interact with other vital systems. These signals travel to the brain and metabolic centers, influencing how the body regulates energy and potentially impacting long-term cognitive health. Because these signals are produced by active bone cells, a loss of bone density means a decrease in this cellular population. When density thins, this internal communication network begins to fade, reducing the body's ability to regulate its own systemic health. The skeleton acts as a proactive control center. Its vitality directly dictates how well the rest of the body functions as we age. The skeletal system relies on an inseparable partner, the muscular system. Together, they form a single functional unit. Skeletal muscle functions as metabolic armor, serving as a primary defense for your internal health. This tissue acts as a massive sink for glucose. Maintaining muscle mass improves blood sugar regulation and provides physical protection for the joints. Movement provides the necessary stimulus for this system. When muscles contract, they pull against the bone, creating mechanical stress that forces the skeleton to reinforce its own density. Building muscle is the most effective way to mechanically force the skeletal system into a state of continuous defensive growth. The window to build this foundation is most open during your 30s and 40s. This chart compares two different paths starting at age 40. We must establish baseline capacity during this window before natural age-related decline begins to accelerate. The widening gap between these two lines represents the difference between maintaining independence or requiring daily care in later life. While midlife is optimal, the human body retains an ability to adapt. With the correct physical stimuli, it is possible to reverse decline and improve strength well into your 60s and 70s. Waiting for a medical diagnosis or a sudden injury to force a change is a dangerous biological gamble. Training is an investment in the future version of yourself who still wants to move freely. This process begins with consistent resistance training. Effective protocols focus on time-efficient, non-negotiable weekly sessions that load the muscles and bones. In addition to weights, safe impact-based activities provide the specific mechanical stress required to maintain skeletal reinforcement. Cardiovascular capacity, measured as VO2 max, serves as a critical metric for long-term endurance and survival. Resistance training and cardiovascular conditioning act as biological signals that force the body to maintain its capacity. To sustain these signals, the body requires specific inputs, starting with adequate high-quality protein to rebuild and maintain tissue. Research also supports the use of creatine. Beyond its reputation in fitness, it provides measurable support for muscular power and cognitive function. These inputs must be paired with deep sleep and structured recovery. Training creates the initial demand for strength, but the actual physical construction of the body only occurs during deep, uninterrupted recovery.
The goal of this work is to stay capable for as long as possible.
Eventually, health is defined by the everyday ability to stand from a chair unassisted, to walk without fear of falling, and to think clearly. It is the ability to carry your own bags and play with your grandchildren. The body required for these moments is built by the repeated habits you execute today. The passage of time is inevitable, but surrendering to weakness is a choice. What is one thing you can start this week that your 70-year-old self will thank you for?